Hello, everyone. Welcome to Data College, where we help you build solutions to your data problems. Today, we are bringing you a new daily series, which is called Daily Data Tips (DDT). And DDT 101 today, we want to give you some tips in your spreadsheet to help you improve upon your speed and also help you in your performance and security. So basically, we're going to talk about array formula in Excel and array formula as well in Google Sheet for today. So straight away, let's go to Excel. So I have a sample Excel spreadsheet here. You may have yours different. So basically, what we do in our daily spreadsheet activity is that if we want to perform some calculations or write our function formulas using some functions, an example, we want to get our profit from the sales and expenses, which is sales minus expenses. Traditionally, you would write a formula that says something like this: sales minus expenses. And traditionally, if you want to replicate this in I3 to all the other rows below, you can come to the far left, right bottom of the cell here and double click to replicate for all the cells, right? Or you can also hold and drag and drop. And that's the traditional way we do things. But that is not very efficient for three reasons. And today we're going to give you some tips to help you improve on that. The first reason is that when we replicate this, we realize that number one, each of the cells have different formulas applied to the cells. And that is the traditional way spreadsheet behaves, actually. So cell I3 has a formula which is G3 minus H3. Cell I4 also has a formula which is G4 minus H4, as you can see, and that is fine. But when your spreadsheet is very huge, your data is huge, and you want to perform your work very fast, it will delay. The performance will be very slow because every cell, assuming you're doing this for every cell, has its own formula and all that. And that is why most of the times, those of you who work in Excel with huge data, you have some delays and you need a sometimes you think you need a very fast computer to do that. Sometimes it's not about your computer speed, though it may also impact on it. Sometimes it's just because you are using the inefficient ways of doing things. The other reason is that why this is not efficient, you have to improve on it, is that when anyone comes in here and deletes or by mistake one of the formulas that you replicate that is deleted, you would always have to come and either redo your replication, which is dragging or double clicking. Double clicking usually may not be able to fill multiple breakages for you, but the dragging will do. But you have to be dragging all the time and all the time. That is a lot of work, and you may not be able to do that. And sometimes the breakages, they are actually hidden from your eyes. You don't see them because they are hidden somewhere, and you may not know and submit your work with some breakings in there. The other aspect is the fact of security. You talk about people coming in and just interrupting in your formula. Yes, it is true that Excel and Google Sheet as well, you can protect your sheet and all that. But let's use Excel and Google Sheets array formulas to help us do this more efficiently. So to use your array formula, if you have your formula written down as we have in the first cell here, we want to replicate for all the cells below, the rows below. What we're going to do is that you ask yourself, how many rows are we going to replicate this for? So we are just going to inspect our data right now. If you check in our data, you see that our data has 1,000 observations, so it ends at row 1002. So instead of this be G3 minus H3, it will now be G3 to G1002 minus H1002, right? Now this is going to, when you type this, you see that the spreadsheet has selected these array ranges for us, and that is going to perform for each of the rows in this range. You can hit enter. Immediately you hit enter, you see that this has been replicated for all the rows. And that is the starting point. The good thing about this method is that for the cell where you write the formula, that is the only place where the formula is. Every other cell, there is no formula there. So if anyone comes to delete something, it will not affect anything. You still have your work in there. By mistake, someone tries to delete, it will still have some works in there. But that is not the end place in Excel. You shouldn't end here. We will have to complete our array formula. The reason why it shouldn't end here is that by mistake, if someone comes in here and types anything in any of the cells below the one that you put the formula in, I'm talking about this column I, the column I where we implemented our formula. Remember, we implemented in I3. So if anyone comes and delete anything from I4 and below, nothing happens. But if they insert anything there, by mistake or anything, any error, it breaks the entire formula. Now, it breaks it because this formula is supposed to work for a range of arrays that are supposed to be empty by default, but they are not empty. And so the array is not able to expand for that. And that must be deleted. And that is one of the problems. The second aspect of this, stopping this way, is that the place where we implemented the formula, which is cell I3, if someone comes and deletes that cell, it takes away all the formula, and our work, we cannot see any result in any of the uh, cells in that column. And that is really problematic. Sometimes some people might end here and say we are going to do sheet protection to ensure, or maybe hide the column, hide the row, hide the cell, and protect the cell and ensure no one does interrupt with it. That is fine, but there is a better way of continuing with that. So let's continue. Now that we have written our formula to write to do the calculation for us from G3 to G1002, instead of pressing enter, you go back to the um, formula bar, and you are going to hit a shortcut. Control Shift and Enter is the shortcut for you. So you hit Control Shift and Enter. Now, immediately you hit this shortcut, it actually encloses your formula with a beginning braces and a closing braces, as you can see. If you don't see that, you have to do that again. That does not mean that this is part of the formula anymore, because if you hit on the formula bar to edit your formula, you don't see the braces there, right? But as far as we hit Control Shift and Enter and our braces come, it means that our array formula has been applied to that range. Now, what is the good thing about this array formula? For the array formula, you cannot delete any of the cells, including the cell in which you implemented the array formula. You can delete anything in there. There's only one way in which, if you want to delete anything from this array, it will work. If you highlight all the cells in that array, then you are able to delete. But if you try to delete any one of them, ASL is going to tell you that you can delete part of an array, including where the formula is. You can delete it. So there's not going to be an issue of error by mistake. Someone just try and comes to delete something. You can't insert anything in that same range as well. No one can insert anything. It will not allow that. So your security is assured there, that no one will come and break your code and all that. That's really, really, really good. Now the other thing about this, which is also important, is that in as much as the formula is applied it to I3, if you want to edit the formula and you go back to the formula bar and you do any editing and you press enter, it is not going to accept that anymore. Excel array formulas are edited by only pressing Control Shift and Enter, the same method which you apply the array formula. So assuming our data changes, and instead of 1000 we have 1001, and we want to increase to 1001, and we increase this by 1. If we press enter, it is not going to accept that because it's an array formula. What we need to do to apply the changes is to press again Control Shift and Enter. and that works for us. Another good thing about the Excel array formula is that you can always edit the array formula in any of the cells in the range that you apply the array formula. That means you don't need to come to cell I3 to edit your array formula. Even if I want to apply my array formula and make changes to the entire column, I can come down anywhere I am. As far as I am in the same array, I can go at the top and make my changes as I'm doing here, as you can see, and the changes will be reflected for each of them. That's the good thing about array formula. It helps in performance because it is only one formula running for all the cells, and as well, it helps in terms of security, and you don't need to drag and worry yourself thinking about formula breakages. Now, let me just add a bonus to the Excel here before we go to Google Sheet. This array formula can be applied to almost all the functions with very few exceptions. So another function that we want to just try out is, let's say, VLOOKUP. So I have two tabs here, the ID, which contains the ID and the email. And I have another tab containing the details of the people. So I want to pull in the first name and the last name from this sheet. So I'm just going to use VLOOKUP to pull the details in there. VLOOKUP is my function I'm using. So I'm going to look up with the ID one, right? I'm looking up for the ID because there's ID common for each of them. And then I'm looking up in the table, a lookup table array. I am looking up in this sheet from this is my table column A, B, C, and then D. And then my lookup value is that I'm looking up in the second column of my table, right? I selected table from column A, B, C, D. The lookup value is going to be comma 2. And then I'm going to have a range lookup, approximation being false, exact match. I don't want exact match for my VLOOKUP. So that is that. So I have one name that comes in here. The same method we applied for the profit, we are going to do that. Now, if you come to your VLOOKUP at the top here, you can see that it pulled only one name because we are looking up for only IDB3, right? This IDB3. So if I want to replicate it for the 1000, I'll make it from B3 to B1002, which is the last row in my data. And that works for all of them. To complete my array formula, I come back to where my first name is looked up, Control Shift, and then enter, complete my array formula for me. I can't delete it, I can't edit unless I go the array formula way. The same thing can be applied when we are looking up for the last name. So I'm going to just do that quickly. Just do that quickly, and I'm going to look up using my ID, and I'm going to select this, and then my column is going to be 3 and the approximate match is going to be false, and I have my last name there. I come here, B3 is going to go to B100 1002, and that ends it for me, and I would apply Control Shift Enter, and this is complete. I'm just doing this to show you that array formula works with most of the functions. Let's try and get a full name by concatenating the first name and the last name with a space delimiter. I'm gonna use the space delimiter to concatenate first name and last name. And the same I'm gonna do for this is to make it D3 to D1002, and the same applies to E to E1002. That works well for me. And then I'm gonna go at the top here, Control Shift Enter, and my array formula is applied. So you can see using array formula to do VLOOKUP, to do concatenation, to do my calculations works well. It works for most function. And that's it for Excel. Let's go straight away to Google Sheet. Now, here we are. Welcome to Google Sheet. Assuming we're going to do the same thing for Google Sheet. And in Google Sheet, we also want to do the profit and get our profit here, which is equal to our sales minus our expenses. Right. Now, the good thing is that, spreadsheet automatically gives me suggestions of autofill. I don't want to use that because it's going to give me the same problems we face in our traditional spreadsheet replicating of formula. I'm going to cancel that. The good thing is that for adding formulas in Excel and Google Sheet, they all have the same shortcut to implement that. So we are going to go to the formula bar, right? We are going to go to formula bar and D3 to E minus E3 will become D3, the same thing we did in Excel, to D1002 minus E3 to E1002, and that will not do anything for us in Google Sheet. Remember, in Excel, this basic formula would have refilled it for us, but Google Sheet does not do that. Google Sheet wants us to complete the array formula first. So what we are going to do is to hit Control Shift and then enter, and automatically, wonderful enough, Google Sheet has a function that is called array formula. And that function helps us implement this correctly. And that has been implemented for us. So for those of us who know the Google function array formula, instead of going through all this, you can just start typing array formula into bracket and you type in all your arrays that you want to be performed for you. Remember, Excel does not have this function, but they all use the same shortcut to get your array formula work for you. Google Sheet has a function. If you know it, type it. If you don't know it, use the shortcut Control Shift and enter, and that will do it for you. Now, the differences between the Google Sheet and the Excel array formula here is that in as much as they can all be applied to most of their functions, for the Google Sheet 1, you don't have that security that you have in Excel, where array formula by default, you cannot edit or delete. No, array formula in Google Sheet works like Excel basic one, where we started typing, where you can insert something in the middle and the formula will break. We did that in the Excel and the formula breaks. The same happens here, where if you try deleting anything here, it won't work for you. It won't work for you. But if anyone tries to delete where we wrote the formula, right, our formula is in F3. If anyone deletes that, it takes away the entire work for us. And that's the few limitations with and differences we have in the array formula for Excel and array formula for Google. They all have their own advantages, they all have their own disadvantages. I really love the Google Sheet array formula function, but indeed the Excel shortcut and trick is super cool. For you guys who love Excel and Google Sheet, yes, and that's it for today's DDT Daily Data Tips 101. Watch out for the next tip. And remember, those of you who like Python and Power BI lovers, we are preparing a training for you. So watch this space, subscribe, like, and share, and promote this channel for us. Data College, indeed, we build quality solutions for you. Thank you.